Hi, this is Zach with Worn & Wound, and today I'll be doing a hands-on with the Eza Sealander. Eza is a pretty new brand. Well, actually, that's deceptive. They're actually a very old brand that has just made a comeback. So the brand itself, Eza, was founded in 1929. It was a German brand based out of Pforzheim, Germany. They existed into the 1970s. And while honestly I'd never seen any of their watches before or had seen their vintage watches really come up very much, they were big enough to actually manufacture their own calibers starting in 1958. So clearly they had some resources and some popularity. The brand, like so many others, died in the 70s, quartz crisis, and was just brought back by a couple of young guys in the Netherlands who wanted to revive the name. And a lot of brands have tried that. Revive a name as kind of a base for a watch, and it's an interesting to go about it. You have a little bit of history, and I think you have, in this case, something just like a very vintage style logo, which is nice to play off of. Their first watch, the Sealander, very clearly is a vintage-inspired dive watch, and it's one that's packed with some very nice features that creates just a really nice value. So there's two versions of it, the blue here, the black, which we'll show you later. The blue is very striking. You can see very clearly it's a vintage style, most notably kind of coming from the bezel, but also from the use of aged lume. The case is a modern case size. It's 41 millimeters by 49 millimeters by 13 millimeters high, and that includes a nice domed sapphire crystal there. But that is, that's kind of an in-between size for a modern watch. I think it wears very nicely, as you can see. Does not feel oversized. I think for a dive watch, it's actually pretty appropriate. I think the 39 to 41 range is kind of a sweet spot to dive watches, so this definitely works there because you get a nice amount of dial real estate. One of the really cool features about this so you see this one's in blue. It's a really beautiful, gorgeous, rich blue. The bezel here is ceramic, so that's a great feature, very highly scratch resistant. Because of that and the sapphire, then the whole top surface is very scratch resistant. And they match that blue really, really well to the blue dial, which I feel like sometimes you see in less expensive watches. The color matching is always a bit of an issue. Here it's really just kind of perfect. They also match the date window. Shocking, I know, but believe it or not, that is a blue date disc. And this is powered by an ETA 2824. Probably should have mentioned that before, but that's part of what makes this watch a really good value. They actually first were Miyota 9015s. They got a little bit of, I think, flack from that, from the internet community, if you will. And now they switched it to 2824s, which they also adjust in-house, really adding a lot of the value to this watch. And yeah, they're just looking, the overall design. One of the things I really like about it, the use of crosshairs here. It's an interesting use of crosshairs. They're blind debossed into it, so they have no ink. It's just a texture that's in this dial that helps use up this space really well. You have an index of applied markers with a kind of an acidic, aged-looking lume, then white markers around it, giving you numerals at intervals of 5 and lines in between that just add some precision to it. Obviously, a quick reference for minutes and seconds, and it works with the look. It definitely kind of has a vintage vibe to it. Case finishing, quite nice. You have a kind of an interesting, almost a twist of a lug with a large bezel coming off the lug edge here. It's all brushed on the top surface. The bezel edge is brushed, but then the sides of the case are polished. That is the one thing I might, have a slight criticism on. I don't think it looks bad, but it's a lot of polished surface on the side. I definitely prefer more brushing on sport watches. And I think if they had done brushing on the side and had that polished bevel there, that would have been kind of an ideal mix because you would have had that pop from the polish just on the bevel. But otherwise, just generally, I think a very attractive watch. And like I said, it wears really nicely, and that's kind of where this thing really wins. It just fits very well. Comes with leather straps and as well as nylon straps. So it's a very good package. And like I said, the value of the thing is exceptional. Ceramic bezel, sapphire crystal. It's a very compelling package. Now I'll just show you the black one on the wrist. Just quickly looking at the black version on the wrist, this is a much more kind of classic and typical option, if you will, but no less attractive. I think it works really well. In fact, the color of the lume here, I think, might play a little bit better with the black dial than it does with the blue dial. There might have been a little bit of clashing in my eyes there. That said, I think the blue itself, they did a really good job with the blue, so that was kind of a more exciting option, especially for a new brand out of the gate. But for people who like the design, aren't looking to add blue to their collection or repertoire, I think this is a really solid option. And yeah, just overall, I think that we've seen a lot of vintage style dive watches. We're going to continue to see a lot of them. Few stand out. I think this one does because it's a compelling value, and they just, it's just very well balanced and attractive. Please read the article on Worn and Wound. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you.